At her own son's wedding, she was told to sit at the very last table, right beside the service area. No one thought it was a big deal. Until the bride picked up the microphone, looked directly at her, and said in front of more than 200 guests, "Today, our family can finally move forward into a new chapter without the burdens of the past." The room erupted in laughter. Only one person did not laugh, the woman being humiliated, because no one knew that she was the one who had secretly paid for every single expense of this luxurious wedding, and within just a few minutes, a truth would leave the entire ballroom speechless. Helen Carter had spent nearly 30 years raising her son alone after her husband passed away. She worked 2 jobs at the same time. During the day, she served customers at a diner. At night, she cleaned office buildings. There were winters when she skipped meals so her son could afford school books. There were nights when she stayed awake until morning while he struggled with a high fever. But when Ethan grew up and became successful, things slowly began to change. Especially after he became engaged to Vanessa. Vanessa came from a wealthy family. She always believed Helen was too ordinary, too old-fashioned, and completely out of place with the image she wanted to project. Little by little, Ethan changed too. The phone calls became less frequent. The visits home became increasingly rare. Then came the wedding day. Helen received an invitation just like every other guest. There was no mention of mother of the groom. There was no seat of honor, no words of appreciation, just another name on a guest list. That evening, Helen arrived wearing an old dress she had spent months saving up to buy. As she entered the elegant ballroom, she quickly realized she had been assigned to the table furthest from the stage, while Vanessa's parents were seated in the most prominent positions. Vanessa did not even greet her. She offered a polite smile and walked away. Helen tried not to show her emotions. She did not want to ruin the most important day of her son's life. Then Vanessa's speech began. She spoke about success, about status, about building a new future, and then she delivered the line that made the crowd laugh. "Some people belong in the past, and that's where they should stay." Vanessa's eyes settled directly on Helen. Everyone in the room knew exactly who she meant. Helen lowered her head. Years of sacrifice flashed through her mind all at once, yet she remained silent. Just as the reception was about to move into the dancing portion of the evening, the event manager's phone rang. His face immediately turned pale. A few minutes later, he rushed onto the stage. "Miss Vanessa, we've just received a notification. All wedding payments have been frozen." The music stopped. The ballroom fell completely silent. Vanessa laughed nervously. There must be some mistake. But the manager shook his head. The hotel, the catering company, the band, and the event planners have all confirmed the same thing. The funding has been withdrawn. Vanessa's face lost all color. Her parents jumped to their feet. "That's impossible. We didn't pay for the entire wedding." Ethan was equally stunned. He turned toward the manager. "Then who did?" The manager slowly looked around the room. Then he pointed toward the last table. Toward the woman sitting quietly by herself. Every eye in the ballroom immediately turned toward Helen. Months earlier, when she learned her son wanted his dream wedding, Helen had quietly sold the last piece of land her late husband had left behind. Every dollar had gone toward paying for the wedding, but she never wanted anyone to know. She only wanted to see her son happy. However, after enduring humiliation throughout the entire wedding planning process, Helen instructed her attorney to retain the right to pause the final payment until the wedding day itself, not out of revenge, but to protect herself if things ever went too far. And tonight, they had gone too far. Vanessa could not find a single word to say. Ethan stood frozen. He looked at his mother sitting at the back of the ballroom, the woman he had forgotten while chasing success. In the suffocating silence, Ethan slowly stepped down from the stage. He walked past hundreds of guests, past his wife's family, past every curious stare in the room. Then he stopped in front of his mother and dropped to his knees. For the first time in years, he broke down in tears. "I'm sorry." Just 2 simple words. Yet they silenced the entire room. Helen began to cry as well, not because she was heartbroken, but because, at last, she saw the little boy she had spent her life raising. Vanessa stood motionless for a long time. Then, she slowly walked forward. Tears filled her eyes. For the first time, she realized she had judged this woman by her status instead of her heart. She lowered her head and apologized. In front of everyone? That night, the wedding continued. But it was no longer a celebration of luxury and appearances. It became a night of forgiveness. 1 year later, Ethan and Vanessa moved to a home near Helen. Every weekend, the family gathered for dinner together. The invisible walls between them were gone. The disrespect had disappeared. Helen never got the land back that she had sold. But she received something far more valuable: her family. Because sometimes, what makes a mother happiest is not being respected in front of a crowd. It is being genuinely loved by the people she spent her entire life sacrificing for. If you were Helen, would you forgive your son? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional family drama Reddit stories with heartwarming endings that stay with you long after the story is over.